Miss Lamont, the principal's compliments, and would you kindly rejoin the trustees in the senior common room?
Thank you.
I think it's right. It must be right. Cool. Would you please sit down? We are pleased to inform you, Miss Lamont, that we are able to offer you the position of vice principal to this college.
Oh, but surely...
Yes.
I'm afraid there must be some misunderstanding. The position that I applied for was that of principal.
No, there is no misunderstanding. Certainly I intend to retire shortly as principal. And there is no doubt that you are academically qualified to succeed me. But I am most concerned that my successor here should follow me in spirit as well as in the title. And these qualifications are more difficult to assess. My fellow trustees, therefore, have suggested that you might consent to accompany me on a visit I'm making next week to Paris. And in that way we would become better acquainted. And I should then be in a position to advise you on the acceptability of the board's offer.
I see. Yes, I see. Very well. Hunting lodge of Louis XIII, it was decided to build a magnificent palace. Versailles has been called the greatest palace of France.
It's too hot to listen to all that. Oh, dear.
Very good, Miss Morison.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. We can read it back at the hotel.
The gardens are delightful. If it is too hot in the palace, perhaps the shade of the trees might be more agreeable.
Shade?
Oh, there's a lovely breeze. It should be cooler there.
Shade, yes, yes.
Oh, que j'aime ce pays. If you wish, we could go that way to the Trianon.
To the what?
The two Trianon. The smaller one was Marie Antoinette's private chateau.
I really must sit down.
Oh, we can hire a carriage.
What?
There. The drive should be most pleasant.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
Merci, monsieur.
Miss Lamont, did you say there were two Trianon?
Yes, indeed, and the little one is said to be quite charming.
Thank you. Where is it?
Perhaps over there by the trees.
Through that gate?
Yes, I think so.
Oh. I see no reason why the number of students we admit should not increase to 80 within 2 years.
80. Does the college have sufficient accommodation?
Oh, certainly. Certainly we do. A present complement of what, 60? No, 61. Hardly strains our resources. And you will recall that the plans for the new hall of residence are well advanced. Within 2 years, the college will be positively palatial. A far cry from the conditions I had to contend with at your age.
Je suis gardée à vue par la personne. Je fie à vous. Je viendrai. Je viendrai. Je viendrai.
Il ne faut pas passer par là. Par ici, cherchez la maison. Là, là.
Shall we try this way?
Mm-hmm.
It must lead to the Petit Trianon. Excusez-moi, monsieur, c'est bien la route pour le Petit Trianon?
Tout droit, tout droit.
Ce 13 août 1773.
What did he say?
This way.
Il m'a embrassé avec bien de tendresse en m'appelant sa chère fille. On a cru qu'il était bon de divulguer notre secret. Tout le monde en a eu beaucoup de joie. Depuis ce temps-là, il n'y a rien de décisif pour la grossesse. Mes règles sont venues le dernier du mois comme à l'ordinaire, avançant de quelques jours. Je ne désespère pas encore pour le mois de mai. Je suis plus fâchée que je n'osais lui dire que ce soit encore une fille. Mais j'espère bien qu'elle n'en restera pas là.
Madame, s'il vous plaît, c'est défendu de passer par ici. Passez par là, cour d'honneur.
Miss Morris, 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 Miss
Who do you suppose they were? Those people.
At the Petit Trianon?
Yes.
I thought perhaps there was to be a fancy dress parade or tableau vivant.
But the impression, the strange changes of atmosphere, the sense of evil,
The heat. Though they wore such heavy clothing. Perhaps they were rehearsing a play. I'll post your letters for you, Miss Morison, when you've finished. Shall I order you some tea?
And you saw the cottage?
The woman holding the jug, and the young girl with her arm extended.
Yes. Now, why did they not move?
It's that evil-looking man by the temple.
And the woman sketching
What woman?
by the steps of the Petit Trianon.
I saw no one there.
She was in full dress. She was wearing full 18th century dress, sketching. She held out her work to look, like that. And then she turned and looked at us. Miss Lamont, we passed right by her. We could have touched her. She was as close to us as you are to me now.
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you.
What I remember most was the music.
Yes, the brass band.
No, this was quite different. It was woodwind band. It was most curious. Dee-da-da-dum-bum. Dee-da-da-dee-dum. Bum-ba-dum.
I think we should write separate accounts of our experience this afternoon, just as we remember it.
Surely it is enough to discuss.
That is the one thing we must not do. No. It might be of some scientific interest.
Very well, Miss Morison.
Okay.
I want cold milk in my tea.
Madame veut du lait dans son thé, s'il vous plaît. Et du lait froid.
Du lait, tout de suite, madame.
Merci. I asked for cold milk in my tea every morning in this wretched hotel.
He said that he would bring it immediately.
I understood that. You don't mention the sketching woman. Hmm?
I did not see her.
Last night, you agree?
I was wrong to agree. But surely it is of importance that we saw different things. I, for instance, saw the plough, which you did not.
Now, I find this of particular interest. Our route, on which our sketch maps do agree, does not appear in Baedeker.
What?
Our paths do not appear in the printed version at all. Look, quite different.
Or perhaps Baedeker is out of date, or we were mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Or what other reason could there be?
I've no idea. Oh, thank you.
Miss Morison, I do not think that we should pursue this any further.
Indeed, and why not?
I feel that it is a case of confused evidence, probably due to the heat. Any other explanation could be thought unchristian.
May I remind you that you are addressing the daughter of a Bishop of Romsey? What on earth can you mean?
Well, I think what I'm trying to say is that psychic or paranormal
Miss
explanation...
Lamont, we are in sacred trust to uphold the highest intellectual standards of our university. I do not expect the romances of the nursery tea table from you. Nevertheless, I think we will make further investigations. Yes, you will return to Versailles and make quite certain that Baedeker is mistaken.
Yes, but surely...
I must return to Oxford with the senior commodore. You will telegraph if you find anything of further interest.
Dated for a week. Miss Newham failed to attend morning prayers in the tent without excuse and was fined 2 shillings. Lady Rose Taylor was fined 1 6pence for failing to wear a hat while bicycling in Beaumont Street. Miss Walker fined 5 shillings for using inappropriate language to a fellow student at the breakfast table.
This catalogue of infamy took place in the final week of last term.
Yes, please.
Oxford must regard us as a bevy of harpies and loose women.
May I remind those responsible for discipline once again that whilst our petition to join the university proper is being considered, we shall be subject to the most rigorous scrutiny.
There are those seeking any excuse to reject it.
Do you really think so?
I'm afraid that is the case. The general atmosphere of congregation is markedly unsympathetic. I myself feel...
Of course, if that should happen, I would consider staying in office until we are accepted by the university. And I'm happy to report that Miss Lamont seems to me an excellent female and worthy to follow me as principal of St. Gilbert's.
And I'm sure we're most grateful to Mr. Hodgson for bringing her availability to our attention. We should not otherwise have known of her existence.
Thank you, Mr. Hodgson.
Principal, we have always discussed a period of overlap.
What?
Of handing over of office.
Too soon to discuss all that, you know. Well, a term, or, well, 2 perhaps.
Should Miss Lamont not be given some indication as to when?
Not necessary.
But surely...
She will make an excellent vice principal. Now, further business.
It seems to me quite clear that on the day we saw those strange people, we were either mistaken as to the route we took, or we followed paths which it is no longer possible to follow. Though how or why this can be, I do not know. For example, I recall that we took the right-hand turning after passing the two officials. Your sketch map confirms this. Instead of a thickly wooded area, there are gravel paths and neat lawns. Also, the pavilion we saw no longer exists. Another example. The door to the chapel from which that young man appeared is nailed up, and it has not been possible to use it, I am informed, for over a century. Exactly where you describe your lady sitting and sketching, there are large rhododendrons of many years' growth. C'est énigmatique, ça. P.S. I think I should remain here one more day for further research.
One thing only, for the day when the university would finally embrace us as a college equal to the men's colleges, when Lord Kavanagh himself would confer our charter, and we would become, at last, part of the most venerable seat of learning in the empire. And that is why Miss Lamont will need the prayers of all of us. For the past decade, she has been headmistress of a most excellent school for young ladies near Watford. Her father is a rural dean. But, as my father, the Bishop of Romsey, would say, those with least experience sometimes flourish best. Every male eye in Oxford will be upon us, scrutinizing, examining, scouring for any excuse to deny us this recognition. And why? Because we are women. Women! How dreadful, they cry. Women at Oxford, women seeking degrees, attending lectures, seeking higher education, as serious scholars and philosophers. Mere women cannot matter. What can a woman offer to scholarship? But we do matter. We do matter, ladies. We do.
Then I went to the offices of the Superintendent of Works at Versailles. He was positive that there had been no play or tableau vivant, or indeed anything of that nature on the day that we were there.
Cinematograph filming?
Nothing. and there is the strictest control of such things. I also inquired about the green uniforms of those two officials that we saw.
You mean gardeners?
Surely they were officials.
Gardeners.
Whatever they were. He emphatically denied their existence. And when I insisted that two men in long green coats had directed us in the gardens, he said it was impossible. Green had been one of the colours of the old royal liveries, long since discarded.
You've made your report?
Not yet.
Well, kindly do, sir, this afternoon.
I was intending to move into my rooms this afternoon. The carrier has delivered my trunks.
This evening, then.
I may be going out this evening.
Out for a walk? A walk? What do you mean a walk? With whom?
Just a walk, Miss Morison. I shall write my reports as well. I'm so grateful to you for proposing me for this position.
It's a ghastly mistake, of course. But I don't care. When I moved out of your father's parish, it was intended to be a complete break.
Dear Oliver.
No, stop. Please stop it. You know how foolish I become. I do come alive when I see you.
What a lovely thing to say.
It's true. Can't help it. Wish I could.
Tell me more about Miss Morison.
She's basically uneducated. What she learnt was largely picked up from her brother's tutors and from listening to her father. You know who he was, I assume.
Could anyone not know?
She got the job here centuries ago when St. Gilbert's was simply a hall of residence. All they needed was a woman of impeccable Christian uprightness to run it. But over the years, it's changed into an academic institution in its own right. I think she feels inadequate as a result, and counters this by her continual domineering and bullying. I suspect she's quite different underneath.
How clever of you to have worked it all out. I may need your help with her, Oliver. Would you help me?
You know the answer to that.
I would like you to read something of great interest. My notes on something very odd which happened when we were at Versailles. When we get back, will you come to my rooms? To see the notes. I would like you to see my new rooms in any case.
Just you and I. But would it be proper?
Oliver.
You replied to the secretary's letter confirming your appointment.
With my acceptance, yes.
So it is now a legal contract.
I assume so.
And you have no further reason to agree with me, if in fact you do not.
Miss Morison?
I must ask. It's important. I'm not the foolishly imperceptive old woman I'm sometimes taken to be.
I assume that you are referring to our experience at Versailles.
Of course, naturally.
Well, then, I have no reason or desire to pretend about such matters, quite the reverse.
Good. Good. Because I find this evidence of a Creole courtier at Marie Antoinette's court of particular interest.
The Comte de Vaudreuil?
Yes. A Creole whose face was deeply marked with smallpox, a close personal friend of the Queen's, frequently at Versailles. Obviously. Well, obviously. The evil-looking man on the steps of the little pavilion.
Obviously.
I think, Miss Lamont, we had better be quite frank with one another. Now, I would like to know your opinion of the psychic. The paranormal is, I believe, the fashionable phrase.
I have never had a psychic experience. All forms of occultism appear unwholesome and repulsive to me. We are both daughters of English clergymen. I'm sure your feelings are as mine on the subject.
Of course.
Nevertheless, there is too great a body of scientific evidence to support the possibility of such things to be able to dismiss them altogether.
Evidence?
Sir Patrick Corcoran has photographed apparitions in his laboratory. Mr. Balfour is a publicly declared believer, so is Lord Tennyson, Dr. John Quayle. My own position is one of acute skepticism.
As a churchwoman?
Naturally, as a churchwoman.
And as a scholar?
As a scholar, Miss Morison.
Now, what science lacks, or what it has always lacked, is a perfectly documented example of a psychic manifestation set down in precise detail by scholarly observers.
Indeed.
Such a paper would be of immense value to learning, an academic event of the first importance. It might even help refute Darwin.
So he qualified to investigate such things.
And who better qualified?
There is, I believe, a scientific body which is devoted...
The Society for Psychical Research. Yes, I've obtained their address now. We will interview their officers and then decide whether we allow them to publish our evidence. And meanwhile...
Miss Morison, what exactly do you think that we saw?
What?
What do you think is the explanation for what happened?
I think it conceivable. I think that we, in some way, peeped through a curtain of time. We understand as little about time as in the 15th century was understood about gravity. Someone has to stumble upon the key. A new Galileo, a Newton, the apple falling on his head.
But that is the explanation for what happened. Why do you suppose that you saw things that I did not?
My father was a bishop, Miss Lamont.
Francis, I think you must drop this.
What?
Miss Morison has no idea of what constitutes scientific evidence. Your case would be ridiculed.
Yes, but...
There would be a scandal. it would inevitably reach the ears of congregation, which would then reject your application to join the university, on the grounds that both principal and vice principal were unbalanced.
I thought you were my friend.
And so I am. That is why I say what I do.
What exactly did Miss Morison say in the senior common room about when she intended to retire?
You know that's confidential.
Surely you can tell me.
You're putting me in a very difficult position.
You know, I've never been to Blenheim Palace, and I would so like to go. Would you take me one day? We could take a picnic. You can hire a gig, and I'll arrange the food and wine. It would be a lovely day together.
Francis.
Oh, you are such a friend. Shall we say Wednesday? And I promise not a word about any of this.
Good night, Francis.
Is it true that your retirement could be delayed?
Almost unlikely.
But possible?
Well, under certain circumstances, it would be unfair of me to hand over total responsibility to you until the status of the college has been resolved.
Where will you live when you retire?
Oh, I've taken rooms in Charlbury Road.
That's quite near.
Oh, 2 minutes walk. I should like to think that you would feel you could call in and consult me on any problems.
Thank you.
Of course, I shall look in here from time to time to assist wherever I can.
Oh, good. By the way, I should like to return to Watford for a day next week, if you don't mind. The school is making me a farewell present.
Oh, how gratifying. Which day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Oh, dear.
Is that inconvenient?
Well, I had a letter this morning from the Society for Psychical Research, and Wednesday is the day they suggest that we might meet.
Well, in that case, I could easily postpone the presentation.
Oh.
Really, it would be no trouble.
My dear, I wouldn't hear of it. I shall miss you.
Of course, she can be a frightful bully. I think she's a very lonely woman, in need of Christian affection.
She certainly needs something.
She tolerates me as visiting chaplain solely because only a man can give communion. Otherwise, I'd not be allowed near the place. If she had her way, all men would walk around ringing a bell and crying unclean.
Oh, Oliver, it is good to see you.
You can imagine how good it is for me.
Miss Morison, how very good of you to come. My name is Cecilia Hadley. I am the Society's research officer.
I was expecting the secretary. Mr. Arthur.
Mr. Arthur sends his apologies. Unfortunately, when you had to alter your appointment from Thursday to Wednesday, Mr. Arthur was already engaged.
Well, the principal of an Oxford college cannot always predict when she will be at liberty, Miss Hadley.
No, indeed. I am Dr. Hadley, by the way.
I beg your pardon.
Not at all. Now, I've read your report and examined your sketches. Most diverting. But why come to us?
Well, surely you examine such cases.
We're a scientific body, not a spook club. Nor are we spiritualists, table rappers, ectoplasmicists, crystal gazers, or any of that nonsense.
I do understand.
Though I have often said we should perhaps practice clairvoyance. It would save us so much on the postage. I'm not at all sure that this case is one for us, however.
Indeed, why not?
Well, because you were by yourself. That weakens the scientific value of your evidence.
Well, I was not entirely by myself.
Not by yourself?
No, my vice principal, Miss Lamont, was with me.
You did mention that in your paper. Did she also have these experiences?
Some of them.
Did she write them up?
Yes, but...
Oh, well then.
But she did not see all that I saw. Mine is the only complete account.
Oh, nevertheless, the evidence is far stronger with two, by the ordinary logic of investigation. If we investigate this case, we guarantee absolute anonymity. You realize that?
Yes, I see.
A small paragraph to announce the matter in our monthly journal would give no clue as to who you were. I'm sure you would wish that.
Oh, of course, I'm relieved. Yes.
I will suggest to the research committee that they should interview you to ascertain if there is a case worth investigation. Worth investigation? Oh, no reflection on you, my dear Miss Morison, but on your method of observation and record.
My integrity has never been questioned in my life.
Oh, no, of course.
And my father, the
Bishop of Romsey.
Oh, you are aware of that.
Oh, indeed, yes. My brother mentioned it only this morning.
Your brother?
The Archbishop of York.
The air of Arcadia is more rarefied, more delicate, and we instinctively feel we are nearing its end.
That's very good. Very good, Alice. Excellent. Tell me, have you read Dies Fleece?
No, Miss Lamont.
Take my copy and take great care of it. Those flies were given to me by a very dear friend of mine. Alice Lamour.
Miss Lamont, we're not called by our Christian names here.
Then I think it's high time we started, don't you? Yes, but are there no conditions in the catering contract about variety?
There is something about it.
Food is so dull. And cold blancmange covered with hundreds and thousands for every pudding.
It is a bit monotonous.
Write to them, Alexandra. Insist on a different menu each day of the week.
Yes, Mr. Lamont.
Telephone if you wish. Telephone? The apparatus is to be installed on Friday.
I would like to speak to you alone, if you please.
Yes, of course. Thank you, everyone. We will continue another time. That girl has an excellent voice. She should be encouraged.
And what on earth was all that about?
I beg your pardon?
All the students in your room?
I was holding a little soiree.
A soiree? Oh.
I get to know them so much better when we can talk as friends.
Oh, is this another of your innovations? I understand you've been announcing yourself as something of a new broom about my college.
Miss Morison.
Perhaps you are dissatisfied with the way this establishment has been run for the last 20 years.
If I am to be principal here...
You are vice principal. Vice principal.
My appointment is to succeed you as principal.
An appointment which can easily be rescinded.
But that's not for you to say, is it?
I beg your pardon.
I was appointed by the academic board, and only they can remove me.
Which I would think highly likely after the way you've begun. Where were you, may one ask, at 11:30 this morning?
I was engaged in whatever my
At 11:30 you were engaged to hold a tutorial with Miss Fish. But Miss Fish informs me that you cancelled it without explanation. And at 11:30 you were observed in the Botanic Gardens in the company of Mr. Hodgson. Arm in arm with Mr. Hodgson. And talking to Mr. Hodgson in a manner which can only be described as intimate. May one inquire if you are in the habit of meeting him?
I would have thought that was entirely my business.
Then you would be wrong. You are vice principal, and he is visiting chaplain, and your intimacies took place in public.
Mr. Hodgson was one of my father's best-loved curates.
Best loved?
So what more natural than we should meet and talk?
Sneaking off on your secret assignation.
I was not sneaking.
At 11:30 you engaged to hold a tutorial with Miss Fish.
Reported us?
I beg your pardon?
Was it Miss Fish who observed Oliver and me in the Botanic Gardens?
Oliver?
Yes, Oliver. He is an old friend, and I call him Oliver.
Even worse than I thought.
Did Miss Fish report?
I am not prepared to discuss Miss Fish. Oh, my dear, I am so sorry. Oh. My dear.
Is there anything else?
Dear, I am so sorry.
Is there anything else that you wish to discuss?
I've become so stupid and in such a harouche with myself. Will you please forgive me?
Yes, of course. Now, is there anything...
Please forgive that stupid old woman. I'm so sorry. Everyone is so fond. So fond of. What I actually came to say was that I have had another letter from the Society for Psychical Research from Dr. Hadley. She writes, if it is convenient, the research committee will materialize at St. Gilbert's College at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. Now, is that convenient to you, my dear? Good. Then we will put them in the senior common room, I think.
I should like to tell you what Oliver said to me.
Oh, it has nothing whatever to do with me.
It is important.
Please, I don't want to hear. It has nothing whatever to do with me.
He has been to Versailles. He is deeply concerned at our position, as he calls it. And he went to Versailles to look for himself.
You told him about our experiences?
Yes.
We agreed not to...
It seemed essential to obtain his opinion. He said...
If Mr. Hodgson has opinions on this matter, well, I would prefer to hear them for myself.
I think there is a perfectly rational solution. On your first visit, you took one path, and on Miss Lamont's second visit, she took another. You saw nothing but buildings and scenery that in fact exist, and the persons you saw were such gardeners and tourists as may be seen about the Petit Trianon at any time. The heat confused you. Your kiosk, or pavilion, is in fact a building known as
the Belvedere.
And the little bridge you crossed is the Pont du Rocher. Here.
And you think that we did not consider that?
You considered it?
We considered it, and we rejected it. It left far too much unexplained.
Yes, I agree it does not explain everything, but... I do beg you to drop this matter. I beg you. I understand you are meeting the Society for Psychical Research on Sunday.
Thank you, Mr. Hodgson.
Miss Morison, you are getting yourselves into a position from which there is no retreat. I do beg you to read my suggestions.
You may leave them.
Discuss it before writing your separate accounts.
Briefly.
You discussed detail.
We discovered that I had seen things that Miss Lamont had not. But we wrote our accounts and drew our maps quite independently.
And your sketches and watercolours?
Done immediately.
Within the hour?
No, but not the same day.
In the evening.
What, 3 hours later? 4?
About 4 hours.
About 4 hours delay made no difference. My memory was entirely clear.
I do not doubt it.
The lady you saw sketching?
No, I saw her. Miss Lamont did not.
How many times did you see her?
Twice.
Once when you passed her, and once when you looked back from the terrace of the Petit Trianon?
Yes, yes.
Which of those two occasions does this represent?
The second.
A white fichu over a green bodice, little line of gold near the edge. Are you quite sure it was a single fichu?
Quite sure.
May I show the committee these? They are leaves from the journal of Madame Eloff, the Queen's milliner, which we had copied photographically from the original manuscript. Now, she writes that in 1789, the Queen had very few dresses made. But in July and September of that year, 2 green silk bodices and many large white single fichus were made for Her Majesty. And you will see that her sketches agree with Miss Morison's watercolour.
You had never seen these?
No, never.
What is your knowledge of French history?
I'm afraid poor, Dr. Quayle.
The fichu is different to this one. This is the Queen in a similar dress, in a rare print by Roubiliac.
I have the fichu as I saw it.
It's not exactly a close likeness of Marie Antoinette.
Not a familiar likeness, no.
What do you mean?
Wertmüller's portrait of the Queen was unpopular at court because it did not idealize Marie Antoinette like so many other paintings. In fact, it had the merit of the most perfect likeness to her.
Miss Lamont, do you think the date on which you had these experiences is significant? The date you went to Versailles?
September the 5th.
On that very same day in 1792, the September massacres were at their height.
The time of the revolution.
1,400 state prisoners horribly butchered in their cells. The Queen herself feared the same end. You didn't know?
No.
But what we saw was nothing like such things.
But violent convulsions of that type have been known to produce curious echoes of a psychic nature to those sensitive to them.
Not necessarily of the events themselves.
And what we saw did have an incoherence about it. A disjointed effect. The idea of echo.
As if we had somehow entered into someone's imperfect memory of those events. Perhaps Marie Antoinette's own memory, as she remembered it.
Also, it's known that a messenger was sent to the Trianon to warn the Queen of the approach of the mob from Paris. She wished to walk back to the palace by the most direct route, but the messenger begged her not to, saying, "Non, madame, il ne faut pas
passer par là. Par ici chercher la maison."
Exactly what your running man, as you call him, said to you.
Yes.
We have saved our most important evidence until last. As part of our researches, we naturally examined every ancient map that we could find relating to the gardens of Versailles. And only last week we received a copy of the most interesting of these maps, showing the gardens as they were when they were laid out in 1785. It was found in a house at Morison 6 months ago. The chimney was being swept. When down it fell, charred by smoke and flames, as you can see. It was sent to the director of the Bibliothèque Nationale, who, knowing of our researches, wrote to me about it. Now, it shows the paths with absolute clarity. Yes, paths which were destroyed when the gardens were redesigned in 1802. Now, if you will compare this map with our sketch map, you will see that on September the 5th of this year, we were following paths which had been destroyed nearly 100 years ago.
I'm very sorry.
Not publish.
The committee felt...
Not pursue the inquiry.
The committee felt that it can only take up cases where the evidence is absolutely watertight.
But the Marie Antoinette print. The map.
Discovered last June, before you went to Versailles.
But we did not see it. Neither of us knew of its existence.
Nevertheless,
perhaps you are accusing us of lying,
Miss Morison.
I'm all right. I'm perfectly all right.
Yes, indeed.
Very well, Miss Hadley. Dr. Hadley. I will publish myself. I will have it privately printed. I will publish it under our own names from this college.
No.
What do you mean? How dare you?
You may not publish it from this college. It would cause a scandal.
Then let it. Let it.
At a time when we are seeking a charter of incorporation to the university, that would be suicidal.
I will write a preface. I will refer to scholars all down the ages having to battle against ignorance, superstition,
And the refusal to face new evidence?
Miss Morison.
Our petition would be refused.
I did see them. I did. And all down the ages, brave men have defied the world. When the world tried to suppress a great discovery, Galileo was brought before the Inquisition and condemned for heresy, because he asserted that the world was round. Such ignorance, such barbarity, though partly excusable, of course, because they were Roman Catholics. Martin Luther was very nearly burned at the stake for asserting truths that every Englishwoman knows to be plain common sense. And our blessed Saviour himself suffered that the truth might be proclaimed throughout the world. And this tradition continues. Indeed, it is in our very midst. In this chapel, you will find copies of a new book, published anonymously, in which the learned authoresses describe in detail certain extraordinary experiences they had and draw scientific conclusions of incalculable importance. And I have no doubt that they too will be rejected and despised of men. But we must all fight and strive for the truth. Yes, copies may be obtained at the back. 3 and 6 or 3 for 10 shillings. Next to the collecting box for the society.
The Hebdomadal Council of the University has written to say they'll take no decision about our petition for some months. They understand certain changes in command are contemplated at St. Gilbert's, and they wish to consider those changes. They would also like to know more about the new research the college is said to be undertaking, as reported in the popular press.
Thank you. Write and inform the Hebdomadal Council that this establishment is a temple of learning. We do not peruse the popular press.
Principal, it is widely believed that you yourself are engaged in...
What?
Well, in certain researches.
In my own time, Bertha. And at my own expense. So I fail to see what that has to do with the Hebdomadal Council. Now, as to the postponement of their decision, that means that I shall have to delay my retirement.
Delay?
A great vexation. A great vexation, but there we are.
Are you quite certain that is what they mean?
Their letter says...
They are fearful of changes at the helm, Mr. Hodgson. And after 20 years with one captain, well, that is understandable.
My dear Miss Morison, they know the old captain.
Could it not be that they wish to assess the new one?
They don't mean that at all.
In that case, I am afraid I must resign. My appointment as principal has already been delayed. I am afraid I could not possibly agree to a further postponement.
If you must go, you must. I have never hidden my intention to stay on in certain circumstances. I'm sure no one here wishes to detain you.
Would you excuse me, please? Francis? Francis, I should like to speak with you.
We would like to put a certain proposal to you. We feel that your researches could be of immense importance to science, and we would be honored if you would allow the college to finance further work along these lines.
Indeed.
Provided that you allowed yourself sufficient time for the preparation of anything so important.
Provided, in fact, that I step down from the principalship.
My dear, it would be a step up. If this work is as important as we all believe it to be, you could become the college's first fellow and a scholar of European repute. How much more an achievement that would be than mere administration. And what a crown to your career.
I could stay in constant touch.
We would provide your new rooms in Charlbury Road with a telephone and a full-time research secretary and a substantial endowment.
I will consider it, Louisa. I'll consider it.
What do we do? The author's identity is an open secret.
Not altogether open.
Oh, surely in academic circles.
Within the university, yes. That is what I fear. The Society must publicly state its position on the book. There is virtually a direct challenge to us to do so. In the preface.
Can't we simply ignore it?
If we do, we could be accused of prevarication over one of the best publicized examples of exactly what we set out to investigate.
But they're not reliable witnesses, and the conclusions they draw are ridiculous.
Winning over academic opinion to our value as a scientific body is of the utmost importance. We shall have to reply.
A review, then.
Yes.
Perhaps Dr. Hadley would care to draft a review, which the council should all approve, then publish it quickly.
Authoresses refer to documents and research material which they might have seen prior to their visit to Versailles. They cannot therefore prove that their so-called psychical experiences ever took place.
This is an attack on our integrity and reliability as witnesses of that wretched Hadley woman.
She also accuses us of failing to carry out essential research.
Oh, that is ridiculous.
No, she has a point. The matters that she lists there, it is quite true, we did not cover everything.
But how dare she question our integrity? How dare she? We'll become the laughing stock of Oxford.
Well, it's unfortunate that Oxford knows so much about it.
We will write a letter to them demanding an apology.
No, because we are not named, neither in the book itself nor in the review, so we have no grounds to sue. I have ascertained that.
You have spoken to your solicitor.
Certainly, I'm not going to begin my tenure as principal under a slur like this.
Oh, my dear.
Now, you must return to Versailles.
What?
And carry out the research that we are accused of omitting.
Dear, my French, no, it's inadequate. Now, together. We should go together.
As to the libel, we will write a letter to the Times, publicly declaring ourselves to be the authors and demanding a retraction and an apology.
You see it.
It's brave of them.
I would say foolhardy.
Oxford must be appalled.
The level of senior common room hum has gone up about 3 octaves. All the old dreadnoughts who oppose women's colleges are wallowing in it.
What do we do?
Nothing.
What?
We should have had the review read by a solicitor. That, I admit, was a mistake.
It never occurred to me.
But it was our honest opinion. We have nothing to retract.
They won't leave it at that.
Une maison. Oh, madame, avez-vous seen une femme avec un petit girl, fille, dans un cottage. Un cottage.
L'agent.
They don't speak English. Can you help me?
Comment pas? Non?
Oh, mon Dieu. The woman with the child.
Topping, Neat and Smith say it's an interesting point of law. Our review names no one. And if the two ladies had not subsequently invited trouble by coming into the open, there would have been no writ.
Do they think we have a case?
Well, they do, yes. They say we should fight on 2 grounds. First, that they're blowing the whole thing up out of all proportion.
De minimis non curat lex.
Yes, and secondly, that the words complained of were not actually defamatory when our review appeared.
Because nobody knew officially they were responsible.
Although it was common knowledge in Oxford. Yes. It's a curious point.
So, what are our alternatives?
Either to withdraw, apologize and pay their costs, or defend the action.
Dragging us through the law court.
The scandal would be immense.
But if we back away...
Then we lose all probity in the eyes of the academic world.
Then we've no choice.
You have issued the writ.
Yes.
And has a date actually been set down?
In 3 months' time in the High Court.
Do you think we should go that far?
We discussed this before you went to Versailles. We discussed it, and now we have some more information. The music has been identified by the Conservatoire National. 12 bars from an unpublished ballet by Grétry, who died in 1813. I had a letter from them early this morning.
But surely our points are made. The book is out, our arguments are put.
Has something happened?
What?
Did something happen at Versailles?
I covered all the points that we discussed. When can you come see me?
Well, I shall come immediately.
Oh, good. 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 I am a little troubled about some of it. Goodbye, my dear.
The senior staff wonder if you realize that we have newspaper reporters at the very gates of the college. They're even accosting the girls as they go out.
Call the police.
You have no right.
We have been working for a mission to the university for 20 years, and in one term you have destroyed everything.
Anything that I have done has been done entirely as a private citizen.
The only chance that now remains for our petition is for you to withdraw your High Court action. The only chance.
No.
Principal, we have applied to the Chancellor, Lord Kavanagh, about this.
He has no jurisdiction.
I am afraid he has. He can investigate anything he chooses in the affairs of a college which has applied for incorporation.
Then let him.
I wonder if I might speak alone with you for a moment. Francis, listen.
I'm afraid it will not be possible to renew your engagement as our chaplain.
What?
Your position is reviewed every 3 years, I believe.
Francis.
I'm sure you will have no trouble in finding a new position. Now, the one important thing is to keep our nerve. That is the one important thing. Now, Lord Kavanagh will interview us both, together and separately.
But I am no longer principal.
But you're still deeply involved in the affairs of the college. I think that he will try everything he can to get us to retract. But the one essential is to stick like limpets to what we know to be true. Because if we waver, we will lose and we will be wholly discredited.
Francis! Listen!
There is a man who lives at Versailles, the Comte de Montesquieu, oh, my friend. His house is on the boundaries of the palace gardens. He has access to them. There is a gate from his garden Now he is an exquisite, a degenerate. It is his custom to hold tableaux vivants of his male friends, and some of them, oh heavens, they dress up as women. Now, I don't understand these things, but they dress up in all sorts of peculiar clothes. Now, there was to have been a public performance for charity. The week after our visit.
A week after, yes.
Might there not have been rehearsals?
I spoke to the superintendent of works himself.
About performances?
And rehearsals. He said that there were definitely no rehearsals.
Yes, but as there is a gate direct from his garden into the palace, I know it does not fit all the facts, but who would believe us now?
I've never enjoyed a book more. My wife's bored with my constantly quoting from it. It is astute, deeply impressive, and reaches conclusions of the highest importance. I congratulate you most sincerely.
Thank you.
Could you sign my copy?
Sign it, Lord Kavanagh.
Autograph it for me. I would so value that. Tell me, have you had any experiences of this nature before?
No.
No psychic manifestation, no ghostly voices?
I don't believe in them.
Really?
This was an isolated experience which we recorded as carefully as we could.
It is a model of clarity. Thank you. And there is no possibility that you might have been mistaken?
None.
Not the teeniest crack?
None.
Excellent. Tell me, what do you think about Miss Morison?
Think of her.
Her integrity, her reliability as a witness.
She is a woman of strong character.
She saw things that you did not.
Yes.
What was your attitude to that?
I agreed at first, but later made my position clear.
Why was that? Why did you agree at first?
This is in confidence.
Totally, absolutely.
I was being sounded out for the post of principal, and I did not wish to seem
uncooperative.
Inflexible.
You were humoring an old fool.
No.
I do beg your pardon.
She has become a very dear friend.
You love her?
Yes, I do.
You're a very ambitious woman, are you not?
As you're a very ambitious man.
Yes, but I don't see ghosts.
But if you had...
I should have kept quiet about them. Do you think Mr. Gladstone would have appointed me Attorney General if I told him I saw spooks? You see, I believe you. I do think you saw these things, and that your book will turn out to be a milestone of natural science. That is not the point. I also passionately believe in women's education, and it is essential that this college is accepted into the university.
You wish me to withdraw my action for political expediency?
Exactly, precisely. I know that I can persuade the Hebdomadal Council to grant your petition if you do that. Remember, I'm on your side. Together we must defeat these old dreadnoughts who wish to obstruct us. For the sake of all intelligent women. This is not a matter of truthfulness, but of strategy. Come now, withdraw it.
No.
You know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And why it's so important.
Oh.
Of course you do. With anyone else, I would use guile, flattery, diplomacy. But you're too intelligent for those House of Commons tricks. Though I do them rather well.
I've heard you.
Oh, you've attended debates.
I particularly remember your closing address on the India Bill. Yes, sheer fireworks.
Ah, yes, I did enjoy myself rather over that one.
And my father took me. You remember my father?
Remember him? My goodness, I still quake to hear his name. He was a fearsome classics master, you know. And a magnificent bishop.
And a great man.
A great man, a great man. And an excellent father, I have no doubt.
Of course. He could be rather strict.
Strict, of course.
And he was not the easiest of men to talk to.
You astonish me.
Oh, I assure you. I often tried to discuss things with him. I think he thought a girl, you know. I was a fool.
Miss Morris.
Yes, I'd never come to anything. I'd never do anything.
But look what you have done. Good gracious, look at your college. Your college, which you've brought from nothing to the very brink of success.
Which is why you're here.
Which is why I'm here. I should like to ask you a favor.
Tea.
I would like the honor of writing a preface to the second edition of your book.
Good heaven.
Well, if your father were alive, that would make him think again, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. But then the whole climate of opinion about women's capabilities is changing. Within our lifetime, we shall have women doctors, women barristers, women in Parliament.
You think so?
I have no doubt. Provided those responsible play their cards correctly at this stage.
No.
I'm talking about strategy, Miss Morison. Simple politics. I ask only one thing.
Drop my High Court action?
Yes.
No.
Do you realize that you are obstructing not just your own lives and careers, but those of all the students in your charge? Do you comprehend with what obloquy and detestation your names will be held if you persist?
You are asking us to lie.
Don't be childish!
To pretend it did not happen.
I am asking you to do something magnificent, for which your names will be blessed forevermore. You do realize what would happen if you do not. I shall recommend in my report that you are removed from the principalship, Miss Lamont, and that your endowment is cut off, Miss Morison. The college would then be accepted into the university, and your 20 years' work would have got you nowhere.
You wouldn't do such a thing.
These hands have signed so many death warrants, I cannot number them. Do you think that they would hesitate to remove two foolish women who are obstructing so much? I ask you, for the last time, withdraw your case.
Pig's piddle. Cow pat.
The Chancellor of the University, having been invited by a majority of senior staff at St. Gilbert's to adjudicate on certain matters pertaining to the future of the college, greatly regrets that he must make the following findings and recommendations. The research grant and other facilities extended to Miss E.P. Morison should be terminated forthwith, and Miss F.L. Lamont removed from the principalship immediately. The Chancellor is further of opinion that no obstacle will then stand in the way of acceptance of St. Gilbert's College by the Hebdomadal Council to full membership of the university.
In every life, there comes a time for courage. A time when you must stand up and declare what you believe at the top of your voice. However painful, however inconvenient, no matter what the consequences, or life is simply not worth living. I came to this college after 20 years of hard work, of toiling and grinding to educate myself and to pull myself out of the genteel ecclesiastical poverty into which I was born. And I became principal of this college before my 40th birthday. And that means more to me than most of you can begin to understand. I have held this post for less than 1 year because I stood up for what I believed and you got rid of me. Oh, how much would you have preferred a comforting, comfortable principal who caused you no scandal? This is my farewell sermon. And sermons should impart a thought and leave a message which will give strength and vision to those who follow. Do I have such a message as I leave this place? Oh, yes, I do, a very clear one. I'm worth more than the lot of you put together.
Now, the spare room is already free of Francis. It's quiet there. Well, do you remember?
Yes.
I've made some alterations. I do hope you'll be comfortable. Now, the porters can bring round your things from the college tomorrow.
Why did you have to tell me?
What, my dear?
God, don't just keep...
Because it's what happened. I know it's not the explanation of what we saw, but politics. Yes, politics.
I'm going to have a little lie down, Elizabeth, then. I'm so tired. Dear old Oxford, home of lost causes and forsaken beliefs. And unpopular names. Dimples and loiters.
I'll bring you up a cup of tea later. Once I have laughed at the power of love, and twice at the grip of the grave, and thrice I have patted my God on the head that men might call me brave.
The Society for Psychical Research have dropped their case.
Yes?
Well, they say it was costing them too much.
Miss Lamont is dead.
What?
Found dead in her bed last night.
Miss Lamont dead?
Miss Morison, we were deeply shocked. Society sends its profoundest condolences.
Thank you. Thank you. And for the wreath.
You know we are withdrawing from the High Court action. We will pay all costs. And we are entering the details of the case in our monthly journal.
Indeed.
Oh, yes. We consider there is now enough evidence. Yes. Well. Excuse me.
Sir Patrick.
Yes?
We did see them.
Of course.
We did see them. No doubt at all. We saw them. We did see them. Very well.